My name is Antoni, and I'm a co-founder of Aleph Zero, which is a relatively new layer one that is public, open source, permissionless, all the good stuff. And our general job was to set out to try and see whether it's possible to have something both private and public. So that's what we're doing since like early 2018. This is like a brief overview. Maybe I'm just going to move of what we have in mind for today. So I'm just going to briefly summarize the differences between something being public versus permissioned, then just chat about Aleph Zero and how the tech is different from different L1s, then touch upon our ecosystem, several use cases, and then I'm just going to wrap it up because it's late and we want to go probably home at some point. Right, so probably most of you know this, but just so that we have the level set up, we've got two main architectures in the blockchain world. So there are public networks and permission networks. So the first one is essentially a blockchain like Ethereum or Solana or Aleph Zero or Avalanche, where anyone can freely participate in any given interaction, whether it's running a validator node, sending transactions, deploying smart contracts. And then you have permission blockchains, which are typically, I would say, more oriented towards corporates, enterprises. Oftentimes they're deployed by these entities. They invite their partners to validate the network. And both of these have several, that's way too mint, Jesus. Okay, but both of these have several advantages over different ones. So the public chain offers transparency, inclusivity, and is generally something that probably Satoshi, whoever they were, had in mind when deploying Bitcoin. Then with permission chains, it's by default more suitable towards enterprises or more or use cases that require more control and privacy. And there's generally rarely something in between, as in you either have way over complicated privacy blockchains that have issues with compliance, or you have permission blockchains that boast amazing tech, but then nobody can use them outside of the core enterprises. So we thought it might be a good idea to combine a public chain with programmable privacy and see how the market reacts to it. So this year we already have the chain live. We have the smart contracts live also from, I would say, I think March or April actually. And now we're working on the privacy features. So the zero knowledge part is done. And we're proceeding to something called MPC, which is essentially a way to distribute secrets. Now, just a short overview of the tech itself. So this is, Aleph Zero is basically three things. It's speed, scalability, Rust-based smart contracts, and privacy that is programmable. And what we mean by programmable is that it's optional. So the coin itself that's powering the network is not a privacy coin. It's your standard, transparent, whatever it is, native coin that's also available on, any L1 which has a native coin that is not a privacy network essentially has a similar architecture. But then again, with privacy, the goal is to be able to keep, for instance, private state of smart contracts from different networks on top of Aleph Zero itself. And this is like a short overview that kind of shows that the network is running. On the left side, you've got the phone that is going to receive a transaction of 1A0, and on the right, you've got the sender. And now they're scanning the address. And this just shows that it's fast and it's working and it didn't crash yet, at least. So this is the sending, and it's done. So it's really quite fast. The finality is around 900 milliseconds on the mainnet. And we want to pair this with effectively privacy-oriented not only towards retail but also enterprises. So we're in the process of determining what actually is needed on the enterprise side. We've got some pilot use cases. As in, for instance, you have an enterprise that wants to prove the transparency of a supply chain, but if they deploy on a permissioned network, then it can still be technically said that if you control the network, there's no point in proving the transparency of anything that's going on there. And then, in order to be able to do that and run several use cases, fund different startups, fund entrepreneurs, and have enough generally resources to run pilot programs, we've introduced something called the Ecosystem Funding Program. And what that is about is essentially, to go back. Okay. What that is about is essentially being able to support builders throughout the ecosystem. So different layer ones have grants. We thought it might be a good idea to combine grants with incubation. That doesn't take away tokens or equity or anything from different startups and groups, and just gives them freedom to build. Right now we had 12 different use cases in the first tranche, I would say. One of them is sitting there. Hi, Wojtek. And I think it's going well, but if you want to know the truth, ask Wojtek afterwards, I guess. So within that program, we're going to have several cool products coming out this year. And one of them is like a pilot use case built with a German company that deals with automatic EV payments. So for instance, they're looking to build a software that allows a car to charge, well, you charge the car and then the car pays for itself. So you save time, you save effort. Each IoT device in the process has its own cryptographic identity. The identity is then secured by the privacy layer of I0, and the blockchain itself ensures correctness and immutability of the data. The project is now under development. We're expecting this to launch by the end of the year in either Q3 or Q4. And it should be fun, I hope. It's the startup behind this. I cannot technically disclose this yet, but they grew out of Deutsche Telekom. The second use case that we have on the more of an enterprise side is something called EDX, which is an acronym for European Digital Exchange. And this one aims to be one of the first regulated exchanges to operate under something which is called EU DLT pilot regime. So everyone knows MiCA, which is a great thing generally, but not a lot of people heard about DLT pilot regime. And this is something that's even better, to be honest, because it allows, it provides like a regulatory sandbox for different tokenized securities, bonds, and funds to be put on chain in a way that we basically know what to expect from the regulator. So the limits on that one, when it comes to transactional limits, are around $8 billion, which is maybe not that attractive to banks, but it's definitely attractive to startups. Yeah, another one, because when we're dealing with privacy on a public chain, so let's say permissionless privacy, we have several risks, especially on the regulatory side, compliance side, AML side. So there's a bunch of factors included in this, and to somewhat circumvent this issue, we have a project called A0 ID, which is going to be a centerpiece of all things identity on the chain. This is being built by a team from Berlin. And a lot of you might know the ENS system from Ethereum, so Ethereum name service, where you have different domains instead of unreadable addresses. So here that part is gonna be quite similar. So you simply have tom.a0 or something along those lines. But the cool thing about it is that we're going to be able to conclude private domain-to-domain transfers. We're going to be also able to integrate different, for instance, KYC, if that's necessary on the enterprise side. You integrate that with your on-chain identity. And again, Wojtek, GateKnox are going to be our partners on that one. And we also today announced a partnership with CoinFirm to ensure that the AML side is taken care of. Yeah, so there's a lot of use cases that are maybe not a lot compared to mature L1s, but for us at least it's a lot. So we've got over 30 different products currently being developed by external teams. After the EFP announcement, we were very happy to receive over 100 applications so far for different support, funding, and 3 of them that could serve as an examples for this talk are, for instance, Darkverse. This is essentially a Polish metaverse that aims to be way different than what we've seen so far as metaverses. So it's even more, it could be described more as an RPG game, I guess. The script is being written by Łukasz Orbitowski and Jacek Dukaj, and the entire gaming part is handled by Marcin Kobylecki. And the goal of this project is to actually propose something that's fun and on-chain instead of just being on-chain. Then we have Interlock, which is fits our general priority very well, which is how do we make DeFi private, secure, and regulatory friendly. So this team is going to be building something that, a solution that combats cybercrime. And what we mean by that is that we're going to have a crowd-funded security model that allows people to essentially determine whether any given website that they're interacting with is secure or not. And we have different antivirus solutions in the conventional, say, Web 2 world, but when it comes to Web 3 and all the phishing scams, it's very difficult to circumvent that. So Interlock is looking to solve this particular issue. Then we have Syncra. I'm not sure if that's visible, but Syncra is a no-code solution for creating privacy-enhanced, decentralized autonomous organizations. And what that means is that when someone can set up a DAO, wants to set up a DAO, they can do so without any technical knowledge. And the killer feature of sorts when it comes to privacy in this case is the ability to uphold private voting. That's generally it. So I think I talked a bit too fast, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. And if you're building something, please go to this website and apply, and we'll be happy to talk.
Are you open, Antoni, to any Q&A coming from the floor? Guys, any questions? This is the right moment. We have plenty of time, actually 10 minutes.
I know you're on early stage, but question, how about interoperability of your chain? How it can communicate with different chains?
Right. So this is something that we're building at the moment. We've secured if you're familiar with Polkadot, you know that there's this concept of parachains. And we lease the parachain slot, but we ourselves are not a parachain, we're a sovereign network. And we're going to be using that to connect to Polkadot. And then there's this cool thing called XCM, and which is like high level. I guess we can compare that to IBC from Cosmos. Then we're looking to integrate with one of the multi-chain solutions out there, so Layer 0, Wormhole, multi-chain, or Axeler. The DD on that stuff on our end is still being done, but the initial interoperability is going to be secured through the parachain slot.
Are there any more questions from? Okay.
I was a little bit late, so maybe that was already explained. This is blockchain built on another level blockchain, and what consensus mechanism you're using?
I'm gonna repeat what I understood because I'm not sure if I heard you.
What's the consensus mechanism you're using? And this is like blockchain. You said something on Polka, but this is not built on the Polkadot.
No. I mean, okay. So the consensus is something that we built ourselves from. We started in 2018 and finished it around 2020. So that was. Well, I would say something innovative, I guess, because it's called, the consensus is called Aleph BFT. It's been peer-reviewed during an ACM conference in Zurich in 2019. And effectively, the high-level architecture is that you're using a DAG, a directed acyclic graph, as an intermediary data structure. And that's how you have the result is the sub-second finality. Then the rest of the tech stack is essentially Substrate, which is the stuff that the Dotsama ecosystem uses. But we were, I think, one of the first projects to take that and look at it as you would look at Cosmos SDK, and then try and integrate that with our consensus protocol.